Chains rattle broken, now we rise. Flag in my hand starts burning the skies. Truth ain't dead, though the liars try. They scream loud, but the words all die. Guys watching hands, praise to the throne. Freedom ain't free, blood built this home. Continue freedom, keep it alive. Red, white, blue, we bleed to survive. God bless the brave who fight and strive. Continue freedom, keep it alive. Land of the free, ain't bending the knee. Truth in my veins, it's all I see. Patriots roar, no fear in the fight. Continue freedom, stand in the light.
Okay, another live stream. Thank you guys for the ones that have already liked it. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know who's watching tonight. Oh boy, this is kind of nonchalant, I guess you would say, because normally I am super well prepared with a whole lot of stuff. But recently, here in the past 24 hours, as you guys are certainly aware, Candace released some text messages. They were absolutely flooding lottie-dottie everybody's X feed. They were definitely flooding mine. And my initial thought was fake because it was coming from WhatsApp. Some people have said Telegram. Hey, Stray Kitten, welcome aboard. Some people have said it came from Telegram, but I went into, with my brothers, one of them was washing dishes, and I went in and changed the name, and you could make anybody say anything on WhatsApp. It's not, I wouldn't call it a legitimate source necessarily, but the Daily Wire and Andrew Colvett came out and confirmed that these text messages were accurate. Hey, Junior, welcome aboard, man. Good to see you again. Thanks for coming back. Tone it down this time, Junior. Don't get triggered this time, Junior. You were getting wild on the last live stream, buddy. Okay, so on a serious note, let's go ahead and talk about this text message. So let's read this outright. So Charlie Kirk said, just lost another huge Jewish donor, $2 million a year because we won't cancel Tucker. I'm thinking of inviting Candace. Now, if anybody's listened to Charlie Kirk, this is obviously sarcasm, but we won't even have to take it as that. And then the person he's speaking to said, ugh. And then he says, Jewish donors play into all the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. This is all they needed, 100% of what the people like Ian Carroll, Candace Owens, Dave Smith, everybody needed. Now, Dave Smith, he hasn't gotten on board with this quite as much, but now, at least Candace Owens and Ian Carroll, they are running with it. The first thing they said was, well, that's it. Everything's there. The Jews did it. It's all the Jews. It's all the Jews. And then this person he's talking to, my understanding is he's talking to his pastor, the same pastor that was at the memorial ceremony. He said, please don't invite Candace. That might feel good short term, but it's not a good long term, in my opinion. Like all groups, you're going to get wide variety of opinions. That nasty free will thing that God bestowed on us makes life frustrating at times, and then it's cut off. Now, what kind of bugs me about this, first off, is like everything that Candace delivers, there is no context. We don't know what happened before. We don't know what happened after. And we're going to get into the video that Andrew Colvett delivered. He said, look, I'm glad that this happened. I'm glad that we were able to address this because this was a message that apparently he sent out. So he sent it to, in his words, authorities, and then where it went from there, I don't know. So somehow this got passed around amongst the authorities, whoever those authorities are, and it got leaked, and it got in the hands of Candace Owens. So we know Candace is well connected. She's been in this business for a long time. But before we get deep into it, this is a question that I had to ask. You know, the Ian Carrolls, the Dave Smiths, the Candace Owens. Again, I will say Dave Smith less, but he's definitely anti-Israel. But that's fine. You can be anti-Israel, and you can criticize the war. Have zero problem with that. Hey, Jennifer, welcome back. I'll get to the comments here in a little while. Thank you guys for hanging in here. But you know, this is what they want you to believe, is that it's the Jews that are doing this, and this is the problem when you have this ethno-state, I guess you would call it that, of Israel. It is a homeland for the Jews. For us as Christians, it's obviously the Holy Land. We see it as that, and it is that. It's where Christ lived, where he walked the earth, where he was crucified, where he died, where he rose again. It holds significant history for us. It's incredibly important to us. That's why you get, aside from, you got dispensationalism, you've got all the theology behind it, but all that aside, at the very least, it is historically significant to us and to the Jewish people. But they want to have you believe, these people like Ian Carroll and Candace Owens, that tomorrow when you get up to go to work, if you stub your toe, it is the Jews. It's because of the Jews. If your lawnmower breaks down, it's because of the Jews. And at the end of the day, the Jews don't impact our day-to-day lives like they would want you to believe. That's just a fact. I'm sorry, that is true. But it doesn't play well when you are working on this divisive plan that they have, the same one that I've been talking about, and I will remain consistent on that from now until eternity. And if you need to know, I have to play this. This is the, I guess you would call it the basis for Candace Owens' arguments against the Jewish people. And I'm going to get into how I criticize Israel. It warrants criticism. The government of Israel warrants criticism. They are not immune. I get frustrated with friends of mine who are, and I love them dearly, by the way, but they are straight up staunch. It almost feels like Israel can do no wrong. Not all of them are like that, but I have some that are. And I don't see it that way. They are a government made of fallen people just like ours, and we'll get into that. But this is where Candace Owens is coming from.
They are essentially, and this is Sigmund Freud was a Kabbalist, and they believe in bisexuality. They worship Baphomet. They are trying to use psychology to introduce, and I read this in a book by a Jewish historian, David Bacon, to make their religion the religion of the world,
yes.
right? Which is a pedophile-centric religion that believes in demons, it believes in child sacrifice, and it is the reason that we have the circumstances that we are in today, and most people won't be able to find this history.
So this is where she's coming from, is that they are devil-worshiping, evil religion. Forget the fact that we share 60% of the Bible with them. No, that's not it at all. It is that they are Baphomet-worshiping pedophiles. This is her stance. So we have to understand where she's coming from. But let me play a little bit of this video. That's the best way I could think of to frame it. This is from Andrew Colvett. It's important that we listen to what he says about this. Very, very important. So let me play some of this video. I doubt I'm going to play all of it because it is 10 minutes long, but we've got to be consistent with how he delivered this message, which I do have my own criticisms of.
But I want to take the start of this show to address some of the things that have been going around on public, namely about a group text chain that has been made known and released by Candace Owens. And I just want to address it head on because, that was a screen grab that I had shared with people. So it is authentic. And I want to go into it because I actually am really excited that the truth is out there. I first want to say the reason I didn't share that screen grab publicly is because it was a private exchange, and I felt like it didn't necessarily comport with things that were already public. I wanted to not betray my friends' trust in that way. But I did share it with some people in government because it happened really quick. It was, it took 33 hours for authorities to get their suspect. And in those first moments, we wanted no stone unturned. We wanted to leave nothing unturned. So I shared it with a few people. Don't know where it went from there, apparently, but here we are. So one of the reasons, Blake, that I'm glad to have this now public, it was not mine to share publicly, but one of the criticisms we've received is that we don't care, we're not investigating every lead, we're not looking under every stone, and that somehow we're just sweeping things under the rug. And when I say that we want justice for Charlie more than anybody else, I really mean it. And no stone unturned. I mean, I don't know if you want to try.
Here we go. So what we could pull from just this first little snippet is that I released this to people in government. We don't know who those people are, but they were more than willing to obviously share this with Candace Owens or with other people who then leak it. This is well known amongst the government that they are chock full of leaks. That's problematic. But this was a private communique between Charlie and some of his closest people. The fact that it got leaked is a problem, even though we can talk about the contents of it, which is what we're addressing in this show, the contents of it. But stuff like that, it was part of a confidential conversation, and that's actually very important. So let's keep going.
I'm in on that part alone, but I have more to say.
Yeah, so it has been so frustrating to have people blow up about this.
Yeah.
And I've certainly stated publicly, the reason I haven't weighed in on things is I am an eyewitness to events, and they've said, don't comment on things because anything you say can mess that up. I don't want to mess up any trial for the person who did this.
That's 1,000% right. And I will say I wasn't an eyewitness. I was not there. I flew to Utah immediately to be with the family and the team, but I was not an eyewitness. So,
and this is another component of what Candace is doing. The fact that this is an open investigation, we expect a lot of people online personalities expect the authorities rather, to give them all the information to do their job for them, because they have no faith in them. And some of that is warranted, I believe. We have reason to question the authorities and their ability to carry out an investigation, but we are going to have an opportunity to see this court case because it's in Utah, and in Utah, this case will be public to lottie-dottie everybody. It will be televised. We will see the evidence. We will hear the arguments. We can sit down and watch it with a bag of popcorn if we want to see what case they've built. But somebody who obviously people he goes, he's, I guess what would be the term? He's a Zionist of the 11th order, but Officer Tatum made a very clear case about this. I was listening to him, Brandon Tatum. I was listening to him talk about it because I listen to everybody, even people that I don't fully agree with on everything. But nonetheless, he was making the case that this is a legal process that has to be followed. I know this from my time in the military, that when we were building cases or we were building packets on people to try to prove what they had done as terrorists or whatever, everything has to be meticulous. It has to be lockstep. And this is what the authorities are doing, turning everything over to Candace Owens and people like that. That's not helping the situation. That's not helping the case. And in some instances, that is going to benefit the defense, not the prosecution. So these things have to be kept tight, locked tight. Just because we're in the public and because we like to internet sleuth, we've got what we've got, and we've got to do what we can to try and draw out what actually happened, to find out if we can prove or disprove. But at the end of the day, we're not going to have the same evidence that the authorities are. And when this is televised, we will see. They couldn't get a court date. They wouldn't be able to have a prosecution without some type of evidence. And that's what we're seeing. And what Candace is doing, and a lot of other people are doing, is disrupting that from behind the scenes. And I have a problem with that. I really do. I see all the comments. I'm definitely going to get to them. So what this also did, and the reason that this was, I believe, pushed out, is Candace forced a private conversation into the open for what I believe, this is my speculation, this is my assumption, but what seems to be the only logical reason is to restore some smidgen of her credibility. Because, as I've said in previous videos, she never shows receipts. She never shows receipts. She makes a wild claim, or she will say, I have proof, and never shows the proof. She leads her viewership on because it makes her money. And then she takes that one bit of proof that she says she has and carries on with a long string of assumptions and speculations. So I believe that she forced this, however she got this evidence, or however she got these texts. And they say what they say, but however she got them, I believe she's doing it to try to clear her name. Now people say, look, the person that we have been stumping for, Candace Owens, all of her credibility has been restored because she found one set of text messages entirely out of context where we couldn't see what happened before. We can't see what happened after. And she says, maybe I'll leak some more. Should I leak some more of the text thread? I'm dying to know who gave it to her, because that person can no longer be trusted, first off. But nonetheless, yes, that's what we want. Why would you not release that all up front? Because it's better to string people along, better for clicks, better for the algorithm. And the text, by the way, and let me without going deep into this, because I'm not planning to do my full 1 hour live stream. At least I'm not planning to. Could, who knows? But without getting deep into this, what they go on to say is that this was a venting session by Charlie Kirk. I have friends, I have family, people that I have vented to in my life. And I will vent on a text, I will vent on a phone call. And when you get back out into public or you get back into real life, you think, oh, okay, all my frustrations that I held back, those no longer exist. I'm not saying that's what happened. I can't know where Charlie actually stood, full stop. But we can take from those text messages that he was frustrated at who? Jewish donors. Does that mean, as Ian Carroll and Candace Owens and everybody else would have us believe, that they are the ones who set this whole thing in motion? I believe they don't show anything different than what he said on a Megyn Kelly interview, which this is why it's complicated, because we have the letter to Netanyahu, which has been authenticated. I showed it to you guys. We have that letter. We also have this interview. I'm going to play some of this. I'm not going to play all of it because we'll be here all night long, and maybe you guys want to be. I could probably play all 7.5 minutes of it, but I want to get to some of these comments because y'all are burning up the chat.
My moral character is being put into question. And so I think it's a hyper paranoid, like we're just going to try to, we're going to just stamp out everything type of practice. But it goes to the point where if, for example, if I have less ability sometimes online to criticize the Israeli government without backlash than actual Israelis do. And that's really, really weird, isn't it, Megyn? That's not
so
right.
Wrong-headed. I'll tell you this for me. So I got some blowback after saying Mossad possibilities with Epstein, a comment behind which I stand. I mean, I really, and I of course reported what Alan Dershowitz has said as his lawyer. He says, I think he would have told me. He didn't say he had any of those connections. I hear all that. That doesn't mean it's not true. I think all these things should be explored. It's one of the many things that should be explored around Epstein. But saying that, and also saying he might be a U.S. asset, et cetera, doesn't make you anti-Semitic. That's fucking crazy. And then we get to last week, I go on Piers Morgan, right? So I go on Piers Morgan last week.
Normally, I keep this show PG-13, but when Megyn Kelly gets on, obviously she's gonna do what Megyn Kelly does sometimes. So sorry.
And I don't talk about Israel a lot on this show. I just like covering the day-to-day of a conflict like this is not my thing. It's not what we do here at the Megyn Kelly Show. We haven't done it for Ukraine. We haven't done it for Israel. We haven't done it for a lot of conflicts, but we'll talk about it when big things happen. So Piers talks about it a lot. Piers asked me, it was a very interesting kind of culture study. So he asked me about the photos of the starving children out of Gaza. And I said a couple of things, both of which got a fair amount of pickup. All right, so first, this is what I said about the photos. Listen to SOT 10. Well, I'm always reluctant to put too much stock in the images coming out of Gaza, that phrase, because they're manipulated and they're masters of propaganda and they're fine having their own children starve just as long as they can put them on camera and show them off to the world. That's Hamas. And frankly, it's a lot of Palestinians. So I'm very skeptical of taking those images at face value and saying it's Israel's fault. Okay, so that clip gets circulated
I'm with you on that.
a million times by my Israeli friends and my Jewish friends online. Like, go Megyn. Yeah, okay, great. Cool. Yeah, she's right on. Look at her, speak truth to Piers. And then Piers released as a separate clip my follow-up to that comment. Okay, and here's that.
You're not allowed any nuance, Megyn. It's only tribalism.
No, that's right. So here's SOT 11. Israel, whether it realizes it or not, has made itself the villain of the world in letting this thing go on so long. They have lost support amongst their dearest friends. And even the entire Democrat Party here in the United States has turned against them, and they're losing Republicans by the day here in America, which is their most important ally. So whether the fight continues to be just or not is almost irrelevant. As Trump said when he was running this time last year, not yet elected, time to wrap it up. And that's how I feel, too. And I've given Israel a long berth. I fully understand, as an American who was attacked on 9/11, my country was that, when you attack the United States and you kill thousands of our citizens, and Israel was in this position on 10/7, it's fine to respond, and it doesn't have to be proportionate. Whoever said it has to be proportionate. But what Israel's doing now is losing its standing with the rest of the world. It's starting to lose, too, even with its closest friends, its moral reputation, its moral high ground. And as Trump said a year ago, time to wrap it up.
Well said.
The 25 text messages from people I know, like friends who are pro-Israel, like, I'm so sad that you've left us. I'm so sad let's debate it. But many Jewish advocates saying, let me come on your show and we'll debate. There's nothing to debate. I'm on Israel's side. Just stop. Me observing
I totally agree.
that you're losing the propaganda war and that this has gone on for about 2 years now. And look, I pulled the stats, support for Israel's military action in Gaza by party ID. GOP in June of 2024, 76%. Now 71, so they lost 5%. Dems, in October of 2023, 36%. Now it's at 8%. Independents, October 2023, it was 47%. Now it's 25%. You go under 35, you have almost zero support across the United States, your closest ally. I see what's happening, and it's my job to comment honestly on it. But I am sick of being lectured on, like, you have to see it exactly as we see it and support everything, or you're against us.
So this is so important, Megyn. And again, I don't want, you cannot say everyone in the pro-Israel, and I don't say it, acts that way. But I got text about you, Megyn, saying, why is Megyn like doing the bidding of Hamas? I was like, what are you talking about? Megyn's the best. Like, what? Like, she's amazing. And I said, why are you texting me about Meghan? And at that point, and so this is what they don't understand. You and I, Meghan, and Tucker is in the same category, and they've tried to go after Tucker.
Yeah.
Is that and the more you attack our moral character, the more we're going to double down in a direction, because
100%.
screw you, I don't do it that way, okay?
Right.
Like, when tell me I'm wrong. Cool. Tell me if I got my facts wrong. By the way, on the Epstein thing, Naftali Bennett says he was an Epstein agent. We have to be pursuers of truth. They've denied it. Fine. Let's keep digging. Okay, fine. But the thing that I think is being lost is, like, on some part of the population, you can scold them into silence, right? But if I have any deviation of a purity test, any deviation whatsoever, such as hosting a focus group, right, Meghan, with a bunch of our students that went viral, having Dave Smith or Tucker at my event, it is all of a sudden, oh, Charlie is he's no longer with us and all that. So wait a second, what do you mean? What does with us mean?
So I'm going to stop it here because I want to keep going. This is what I'm saying. This lack of nuance, and it's both sides. We can criticize Israel and the way they prosecute the war. The point that they made earlier, I agree with that. It's that Hamas, they are propaganda artists. They are masterful at it. Netanyahu is losing the PR campaign. We can also look at the city blocks that have been leveled and all of that. Now, I see it from a certain perspective. Yeah. Do I think some of that could be overly aggressive? Yeah, possibly. However, I grew up in the 9/11 era, going over to fight radical Islamists in other parts of the world. I know the ferocity with which they conduct combat. I know how little they care for human life. So do I think that sometimes that may be warranted? Do I think that maybe in a couple of instances with the U.S. military, leveling some city blocks might have helped us win the war rather than prolong it for 20 years, potentially? I'm not going to get down that rabbit hole, but there is nuance to all of this. If you hate Jews, which Candace does, you're not going to find nuance with a person like that. You're just not. I'm sorry. If you think that Israel should be entirely cut off from the rest of the world and let Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, whoever, just run roughshod all over them, then I'm not going to find any common ground with you either. If you think that there are some left and right limits to it, yes. Now, the Jewish people, let's talk about the Jewish donors who feel like, I'm assuming, like they feel as though they're supporting their motherland and whatever. These people are hyper paranoid. A lot of them are Democrats, by the way. Let's be perfectly honest about that. But they are surrounded by 2 billion people who follow a religion that believe they should be wiped off the face of the earth. In fact, for them to carry out the prophecy of their warlord leader, that entire nation needs to be gone. That's problem one. I would say that even though it's been since 1948, that probably makes them a bit paranoid. That's reasonable. They have been in a war for 2 years as of today. 2 years as of today. And God bless those families. I pray for those families today. That after 2 years of fighting, they are losing a PR campaign. That's a big deal. And they are probably terrified of that. Does that mean that that coming out and saying Charlie Kirk is an anti-Semite is the right thing to do? No. But when a nation is in such a horrible situation, people's behavior is going to become erratic, I'm sure. And we have people in America who are twisting our movement on the right, who typically supports the existence of Israel, who typically believes we should be sending them the $3.8 billion a year, even if you disagree with that, which in some cases I disagree with it. I don't think we should be sending them that much, even though we have an agreement with them that 75% of it gets spent back into the military-industrial complex. It's the same argument we were making with Ukraine. But nonetheless, they are an ally of ours in the Middle East, and we're pumping money into it. But does that mean that I think they can do no wrong? Absolutely not. I don't like Netanyahu. I'm not a fan of Benjamin Netanyahu. I think he's terrible at PR. I think he's gotten comfortable with U.S. military aid. And I think sometimes I feel like he's taking advantage of the American people. He's been the PM for 20 years. That's too long. I think it's time for Israel to have some term limits. I think he's a bit arrogant. I think he takes advantage of evangelicals in some instances. And I think that there are limits to our support, should be some limits to our support, especially if they are doing bad things. Do I think that Mossad is corrupt? Yes. But I can make similar arguments about America, the country that I love, The CIA, it's too compartmentalized. The CIA is too corrupt. We've got a lot of people with a lot of control who are not accountable to enough people. We have lobbyists and we have career politicians that are a problem in America. We have a military-industrial complex that I am no fan of. Even though they paid for all the weaponry, the amazing weaponry that we had, they're charging $5,000 for a hammer and $10,000 for a bag of bolts and ripping off the American people. That's a nuanced approach, and I think it's a reasonable approach. But am I willing to hate an entire race of people because in Israel, because there's some corruption there? Absolutely not. Do I believe that it is the Holy Land where the Christians, we have solidified and made certain so much of our Christian history out of Israel? It is mind-numbing. Things that people have been trying to disprove for years continue to be proven because of what archaeology does go on in Israel. It continues to prove the Bible true. It's where my Lord and Savior lived, was crucified, died, rose again. And then, I'm going to end on this, that with Candace, and I say end on this because after this I'm going to get to some of the comments, but this is why I believe that Candace has released these text messages. It's because she has been losing credibility, and it's not unreasonable to see that. I think a lot of people that have been watching my videos for the past few weeks, they've been doing incredibly well because I think somebody said it right down here in the comments. Heart Love said, I am Candace fatigue. Yes, I am too. I'm Candace fatigue because there's other things going on in this world. There's other things going on in this country. I said at the top of the show, are the Jews going to stop you from getting up and going to work in the morning? No, but you know what will? Antifa blocking your streets. Are the Jews going to stop you from running a successful business? No, but bad government leadership will. Are the Jews going to, are they holding you back in this world because inflation is rampant and things are tough? No, they're not. But you know what are? Bad politicians, bad governance, unsecure neighborhoods, small businesses being destroyed, people being scared to walk down the streets. We have actual problems in this country. And Candace Owens continues. I had a whole video, by the way, guys. I had a whole video that was going to be funny stuff, and I'm going to do it. I promise you, I'm going to do it. Because we need a break at some point from this madness and this division. We got to come together at some point in time. We have to come back together. We had this wonderful unifying movement. We disagreed on some things, but by and large, we were focused on America first. We were focused on building back our economy, on getting jobs, and all of this stuff. And people like Candace, in a lot of cases, Tucker, and people like Ian Carroll, and all the conspiracy theorists who found individuals out here in our society that are sad, lonely in their parents' basement with Cheeto dust on their chest, looking at, just doom scrolling on the internet. And they said, I can make money off of these people through ad revenue by saying all of your problems are because of some people who live in a country the size of New Jersey with 14 million people in it, that you're never going to see in your lifetime.
The dumbest person ever. First off, I'm not even inclined towards tech, but also would have to be an absolute idiot, a moron, to try to figure out how to manufacture text messages for the purpose of releasing them to then probably get sued by every person that was not in the chat. Like, I'm just like, hey, Josh Hammer received this message. That'd be so dumb. But like I said, these people were desperate for it not to be real, because they've been lying so hard about everything. They've just been lying, and they have some egg on their face now. And reality hit them pretty quickly this morning when Andrew Colvett, Turning Point's spokesperson, confirmed that the messages were in fact real. He did this on the Charlie Kirk show. And actually, I don't think it's dramatic to state that this may be the first respectable measure taken by Turning Point USA executives since the passing of Charlie Kirk.
There you go. She's still blaming TPUSA. She's still blaming, she says, it's the Jews did it, TPUSA did it. It's everybody, conspiracy. And I'm so tired of it, guys. I really am. I want us to get back to talking about actual issues, but I feel a certain obligation. I talked to some of my friends about this. These microphones, look, I have a small audience, but I'm growing, right? And I'm blessed. I'm thankful for that. Even though I'm small, I will be a big channel one day. Eventually, I will be a big channel. And this carries a lot of weight. She treats it like it's her own little piggy bank. Like the more silliness that I can spit into this microphone, the more money I can make, the more I can mislead the American people for my own ends and my own gain. And I've got a problem with this. Yes, Penny, you made a great point. This division is because of spiritual dark forces. I 100% agree with that. And I'm going to get to all the comments here in a minute. But here's the thing. She said she would have to be nuts to send fake texts. My first thought was they're fake. Why? Because Candace has lost credibility with millions of Americans. As well, I believe she should, because of how she's handled this whole situation. As I said before, she's jeopardizing the defense. She is spouting nonsense that's dividing the MAGA movement, that's dividing the America First movement. But millions of people do think that she is that stupid because she spent thousands of man hours trying to prove that a woman had male genitalia in another country, not in America, in France, trying as hard as she could. And now she's probably going to get sued. And I believe this is why she's leading her viewers along. She's stretching this out for the long haul and monetizing the death of her friend in order to make money, because she's got some big legal bills. And that when that Macron lawsuit comes down, I don't think her husband is going to want to open up his $250 million piggy bank to pay for his snarky wife who cannot control her tongue. I know that's harsh, but I'm sorry. That's the way I feel about it. And I'm frustrated. I liked getting on. When Donald Trump got elected, if you guys have been following this channel, you know when Donald Trump got elected, I went out there and was like, this is such a good day. I'm so excited. I was doing positive things. We were talking about all the good stuff that was happening. And yes, we're not even all the way into, we're still early in this presidency, but things weren't happening as fast as we wanted them to. Got it. Fine. That is what it is. But positive things were happening, and I was whooping and hollering. I love Doge. I love, Donald Trump, and that's part of my funny stuff, which I'm going to get to, by the way. I promise you guys, if I can get home early enough tomorrow, I'm going to do the funny one. We're just going to look at Donald Trump's trolling memes and all that kind of stuff. It's great. But instead, what are we doing? We're sitting here trying to play blocker for people who say they're on our side, but aren't, people who are dividing us. You guys let me know down in the comments what you think. Thank you all for all the likes. Thank you for so much for all the comments. I appreciate it, guys. It's fantastic. Let me get to some of these comments, all you wonderful red-blooded Americans. Jennifer, you're coming back. I appreciate it. Junior, you're here all the time. Stray Kitten, you're here all the time. Appreciate it. I've got some regulars that come back. Carrie, welcome aboard. I threw up one of your comments just a little while ago. Okay, let's get to some of these. Okay, yeah, Stray Kitten, I know you've been paying attention to the ICE protests. So those are going on up in Chicago. They're in Portland. That's part of what I'm going to talk about in my next episode. Yeah, I've got some positive stuff, but we have to talk about that. This is just one that I had to hit it tonight. It was chewing away at me. Let's see. I figured they were real. I believe freaking out the day Charlie was assassinated. Cops asked, "Hey, is there any donors that are of concern?" There's donors since donors highlighted. Okay, that's interesting. I hadn't heard about that. Let's see. Okay. All right. Stray Kitten had to leave. Sorry about that. Let's see. Can you just say that Jews are the ones in those? Is JDS. Let's see. I put this one up before, and this is it. You don't have to, I look at things, obviously, I'm a Christian. I look at things through a biblical perspective. We can debate dispensationalism and all that stuff. I honestly, I kind of stay away from that. I'm not a theologian, so I don't get into those things. I have friends who are, and they know this stuff inside and out. But this right here, right there, is the way to look at it. We are talking about the Jewish people versus Hamas, an internationally recognized terrorist organization. And who would we rather have controlling, in my opinion, and I think somebody else made this comment, and I might have thrown it up. Who would we rather have controlling the Christian Holy Land, the Jewish Holy Land? Hamas or the Jewish people? I know people that go multiple times a year over to Israel to visit the Holy Land. Could we do that if Hamas was there? Absolutely not. Under no circumstances. Let's see. I don't need to look at. Oh, yeah. Okay. It was you, Jennifer, that said it, that posted that one. That's right. Perfect. Let's see. Yes, they have been. Now, this is the argument a lot of people make. So Carrie says, I'm not from the USA. I always thought USA and Israel were allies. Yes, we are. But people look at the, again, the Hamas, or not the Hamas, the Mossad. So Mossad's nefarious activities, and they are one of the most powerful intel agencies in the world, even though they are in a small country. And I still say that I think they're a corrupt intel agency, just like our CIA is a corrupt intel agency. Has been. And this is why I'm hoping that we can restore a little bit of faith and confidence back into our institutions. We should never trust them implicitly. Our founding fathers didn't, and I'm not going to either. And I hope that you all won't either. We question them all the time. You guys know that. I mean, right? That's why you're here. We question our federal authorities, but we have to have some basic, I believe we have to have some basic belief that they're gonna, like Lady Justice, right? She wears a blindfold and holds a set of scales because it's not knowing who is going to be in that trial. It's not knowing who you're trying. The value of that person does not matter. It's about having a blind justice system. That's what matters. We want to have some faith and confidence in our system. Let's see. More comments here. Let's see. My niece was murdered. It was a death penalty case. We couldn't get any information until the trial of murder. Now Texas death for a patient. Whoa. Let's see. My niece was murdered. I don't know if I can say that word on YouTube. It was a death penalty case. We couldn't get any information until the trial is now on Texas death row. Patience is necessary. Oh, that's interesting. I hope I can share that when I did. But yeah, this is kind of talking about what we were discussing earlier, is that these things get locked tight. When there's a case going on, they can't be sharing anything and everything just because Candace Owens wants to get some clicks off of it. That's an irresponsible way to handle it. Let's see. Jennifer, no patience, just corruption, laziness. All right. I mean, people will treat you the way you treat them. I see Junior said, no. Patience is just corruption or laziness. I will not have patience with corruption. People will treat you the way you let them treat you. Yeah, but we are talking about the court case, Junior. I mean, you got to admit that, right? I'm sure you'd admit that. Well, this is a great point right here. Candy can only milk this Charlie Kirk situation thing so long. What's the next lie going to be? Look, based on the track record, I think we all know that there's going to be another one. Like, there has to be another one. And for us, this is why you come back here, right? I'll be honest with you. If it's, we have to be honest about people on our side, people on the other side. That's why I've been critical of things Donald Trump has done. We can't be a loyalist because the world, like a staunch support 100% of the time loyalist. The world just doesn't work that way. It doesn't. And as this is somebody who's moved more and more conservative, I find it much, much easier to find criticisms in the federal government. I don't know about you guys, but I'm a hawk that way. Let's see. Kathleen Kennedy's as bad as TMZ these days, just makes accusations of some mistakes. Let's see. I think it's in poor taste to publicly complain about donor pressure. Donors don't have to give their money to an organization, especially platform people who are demonizing them, i.e. Tucker. That's a valid point, ABCD. I think it's in poor taste to publicly complain about donor pressure. Donors don't have to give their money to an organization, especially if you platform people. This is a valid point, right? I've heard other people make this same argument that, look, if somebody says, I'm going to give you $10 million a year, and you say, great, I'll take the $10 million a year. But then you go and platform someone who is antithetical to what they're donating to, technically speaking, they can say, well, this isn't what I was paying for. I was paying for this because of that. Right, wrong, or indifferent, they have a right to do that. Now, the premise on which they're doing that is, that's another thing. And I think that's where Charlie had the issue. It's that, he pitched himself as a free speech platform. And he was. It is a free speech platform. They are going to platform anybody and everybody. So if you're going to give money to an organization that's going to help move a good cause like TPUSA forward, they've got to say, look, there's going to be people that you disagree with, but look at our overall mission. Look at where we're trying to move this country. So yeah, they have a right to pull money. But then it goes back to, does that mean that Charlie Kirk was saying in everything that we've got? No, it doesn't. But does that mean Charlie Kirk was saying, well, I'm just out completely. I'm not even supporting Israel anymore? No, there's absolutely no evidence of that. None whatsoever. This is a good question, AM. Why did this guy share this part of the text thread? That's what I talked about earlier on, is that there was, where's the context? This is like with Candace saying back in May, she had a text with Charlie. She was still texting Charlie. So this is a great point. There was nothing before that. We don't know when the text before that was, how long before it was. We don't know anything that came after that text, those texts. She just said, see, I was still texting him. Yeah, but we don't know the context. Context is important. Tucker and Candace, Muslims doesn't call out Muslims. Let's see. Candace doesn't call out Muslims for killing Christians, and Tucker apologized. I mean, there you go, heart love. Tucker and Candace, I don't think they're Muslims. No, I would disagree with that. But Candace doesn't call out Muslims for killing Christians, and Tucker apologizes for Hamas. Tucker came out and said that Hamas is a political movement, and he downplayed Sharia law. I did a whole video on it. You guys can go check it out on my channel. I'd really appreciate it if you did. Yeah, Janie, you were right. She said, I would love for you to do a humor segment. That would be like fresh air. I'm going to do one. I promise I will. Donald Trump he's been doing some funny stuff lately, and it's worthwhile to take a look at. The doom and gloom. I don't know about you guys. Yeah, let me know. But I look at this stuff all the time. I have to. I'm trying to run an internet show and to A, entertain, B, educate, and give you my opinions. And I want to get your guys' opinions. That's why I do these live, because I want your all's interaction. But yeah, I mean, sorry, got distracted by the comments. But we have to break away from some of that and see some of the good things going on. And unfortunately, this is why you guys need, by the way, please hit the subscribe button, the like button, and the notification bell if you're on right now. That way you're notified when I do this stuff, because I will stop, I will go back to doing something funny, and it's not like you guys aren't going to see it. So if you don't mind, I would truly appreciate it if you would just come back and check in on my channel every now and then. It'll really help me out, and share the content, get me outside of the algorithm. Although the algorithm's been pretty friendly lately. This is a valid point too. Great comments tonight. Thank you guys. An entity that believes the ends justify the means can and will justify corruption. That's right. And what we're trying to do is not get to ends justify the means sort of thing. I think, Janie says, I feel like Tucker is grasping at straws to survive. I think that Tucker's independently wealthy. Megyn Kelly has talked about that. He doesn't really need to work. He's got, I don't know if it was inheritance, if it was a good, whatever. But Megyn said it was a long time ago. She said, look, he's independently wealthy. He doesn't have to be doing this. He's doing it for the right reasons, is what she believes. And she's under some criticism recently, too. She has been, basically people are coming after Megyn, saying that her and Tucker and folks that are run by this one company, I have not verified it, so I'm not going to go full bore into it, but somebody made some allegations that they are the marketing company, the production companies that they are using are the same companies that are also owned by the Murdochs. Somebody made that accusation. Do not take that as truth. But I'm doing some research on that, and they're saying that the reason she's taking a soft stance on Tucker, the reason she's taking a soft stance on Candace, is because they are all, like, the people helping them produce their podcasts are part of this organization. I don't know. That could be a wild conspiracy theory. I probably shouldn't have even said anything. I heard it from one source, started doing a little bit of a deep dive. It's inconclusive at this point. But I just, I shouldn't have said anything. I hate doing that. That's not me. I shouldn't have mentioned that. Disregard what I just said. I just know that it's a rumor. But yeah, Tucker has been he gets the big guests. I did show conclusively that The Qataris paid a company, a marketing company, they were paying him $180,000 a month, I believe, so that they could get the interview with Tucker. There's a FARA request. In fact, I could pull it up. Let me pull it up for the folks that weren't on my last live stream. It was all, in Technicolor here. Well, in black and white. Here it is. Let's pull that up. Oh, I got to minimize Candace Owens. I think we'll all appreciate that for tonight. Here's the FARA request. And so this was, in a FARA request, they have to say, there's, lots of foreign entities. This is what a lot of people say that Israel should be doing. But here's the FARA request. And it was the embassy of the state of Qatar in February of 2025, Tucker Carlson, the Tucker Carlson Show, in-person interview with the Prime Minister of Qatar regarding war with Iran. The Prime Minister of Qatar is being attacked in the media for wanting to stop it. This is why they wanted to have this interview carried out. Does that mean he's bought and paid for by Qatar? No, it doesn't. But it doesn't stop people online from saying that he's Qatarlson and all that kind of stuff. But I kind of skipped around on your question there, Janie. But he might be wealthy, but he cannot buy the power of his voice. Yeah, and a lot of people still, just like with Candace, a lot of people still just whatever he says, hook, line, and sinker, they take it. Yeah, I want you guys to question me. If I say something wrong, I hope somebody will say, here's the evidence that proves you wrong. I try to be very well researched. I honestly do. I truly do. I deep dive on as much stuff as I can. But if you guys have alternative stuff, DM me on X. Leave it in the comments down below. You can email me. Fine. Go for it. I welcome whatever information I can get a hold of. Yes, Tucker Carlson's father was a CIA agent, and yes, he did deny it. Fishy. Yeah, I mean, that's a valid point too. Fame is a powerful drug. I think that's a lot of why Candace does it, to be honest. IMO, as the kids say. IMO. Well, guys, I think let's see. When he gives blind loyalty to Candace, won't call her not. Well, okay, here you go, Kathleen. I have been seeing. Look, I never watched a lot of Officer Tatum. I really didn't. I think he's a Christian man. I think he's done some amazing stuff with his business. He's been very successful. I think he's probably a really nice guy. I don't know. I've never met the gentleman. And he has taken a staunch stance in favor of Israel. Kudos to him for standing on his principles. I mean, at the very least, you got to appreciate that. However, he is starting to say, I'm going to have to start calling some of this stuff out. Like, this is getting out of control. And he doesn't want to burn a bridge with Candace, which I would also understand. If I had a friend that I was very close to, I would probably have a hard time calling them out. I would do it in private before I would do it publicly. But, he's not giving blind loyalty to Candace, because if you listen to his videos, he's actually going back in and saying, hey, this is what people are saying. And then he names the things that Candace is doing and calls it out. So I don't think he's doing blind loyalty. I think he's trying to keep from driving a wedge between the two of them. And maybe there's text battles going on behind the scenes. I don't know, that they're texting back and forth, trying to come to some agreement, some arrangement. I don't know. Maybe he's trying to talk some sense into her. But based on what we've seen from her, I think you guys know that. I mean, if you're a follower on this channel, that's probably not going to be the case. That when you get as ensconced in your beliefs as Candace Owens is, you're hard pressed to find any common ground with a person like that. Oh, come on. He's not bootlicking these days, Junior. I disagree with you on that one. Let's see. To God, not person. If his faith is true, just my opinion. Yes, but he doesn't shy away from that. I think that's an interesting point. So you say that his loyalty should be to God, not person, which I agree with. I mean, we have to show obviously that's where our loyalty lies first, is with Christ. If his faith is true, just my opinion. But we also don't want to, I don't want to do that. I wouldn't want to come out and slander. I'm sure you wouldn't either. Or what would even could be interpreted as slander of someone. And does it need to be done publicly? So having humility, y'all could probably give me a good Bible verse on that one. But, showing some humility and not lashing out at a friend, look, it's different than when you're calling out somebody who's doing something that's blatantly wrong. But when you're trying to maintain a relationship with somebody who you believe, you've got moral, maybe it's faith values that you have with folks, that sort of thing, that's a bit different. So I don't know, maybe that's why he's doing it. He feels a loyalty to her, and out of his loyalty, it keeps him from calling her out in public. I'm assuming, I'm making an assumption based on that, but yeah, there you go. That's it. Okay, guys. Well, I think I've come to the end of the comments. Thank you all so much. I appreciate all the feedback, all the engagement. You guys are wonderful. And if you're new to the channel, be sure to smash that subscribe button and the like button and the notification bell. That way you're notified every time a new video is released. This channel is growing, and it's all because of you guys. I truly appreciate you. I appreciate all the folks that keep coming back every single week. Every single night we'll be doing. So tomorrow night, I'm going to be on Braver Than the Rest. I always pitch my buddies on Braver Than the Rest. We'll sit and talk about anything and everything. I may do one before that, but we go live at 9 p.m. On the Braver Than the Rest channel. Feel free to check it out. It's always a good time with those gentlemen. God bless you guys. God bless America. I'm hoping that the next show can be some good news, not more of this craziness, but we'll see. We'll see. Thank you all so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a wonderful, wonderful, what is it, Tuesday? Tuesday evening.